Open 105 freeway here, coming back towards an area perhaps where this pursuit started.
You know, Rick, we think of a pursuit on the freeway, less likely to do a pit maneuver there on the freeway given the speeds and the danger to other motorists. You wonder if maybe they could have tried that perhaps on those surface streets if the speeds were slow enough where they felt it was safe.
And you can see with our extreme nav system here, Christine, Marla, that the speeds are picking up 70+ miles an hour on a wide open eastbound side of the 105. You can see the HOV lanes, the fast track lanes there on the far upper left corner of your screen. There are tinted windows here. No idea if there's anybody else inside this vehicle. We saw that pursuit yesterday with that poor young child that was inside the vehicle. So we don't have that information at this time. But yes, the pit maneuver, the pursuit intervention technique, that is a situation in which the speeds have to be roughly 35 miles an hour or less, just nudging one of the sides of the back end of a vehicle to spin that vehicle out, to disable that vehicle and end this pursuit. You can see the night sun, a helicopter is up. We were very close. In fact, we were in LAX airspace, Skyfox was, and had to back off slightly, but now we're heading away from that area on the eastbound 105. Next freeway coming up after that will be the 110.
Rick, according to our assignment desk, West Covina PD first picking this up, and this was shortly before 10 o'clock, approximately 9:50. So it's been underway for about 30 minutes now. So now we are still in the Inglewood area. 105 eastbound, just passing the Vermont Avenue exit. You mentioned the pit maneuver. Spike strips are another option. When it comes, though, to navigating these pursuits at night, does that make a difference on the strategy?
Absolutely. I mean, they have to take everything into play here. And again, they have to know what they're dealing with in terms of is there anybody else, I should say, inside that vehicle. And we don't have that information as of yet. You can see that one unit tailing that car very closely here. This is the eastbound side of the 105 heading out of Inglewood towards South LA, towards the 110 freeway. And at that interchange, Marla and Christine, that driver will have the option of making a transition either north on the 110 Harbor Freeway towards downtown LA or south down towards the San Pedro and Harbor area.
So as we watch this pursuit, Rick, we've talked in the past about a suspect going back to an area that feels familiar to them. We know this car started in West Covina, now back on the 105 freeway, headed back east, which could be towards West Covina. Not sure why they got off on Inglewood, except perhaps they were kind of running out of freeway there near LAX.
That's right, and the pursuit was on those surface streets just north of the 105 for about 5 minutes or so. But then this driver got back on the 105 and then trailed back on the eastbound side of the 105. That's the interchange, those big flyaway interchanges there at the 110. So we're staying eastbound on the 105 freeway, past the 110 freeway. There will not be a transition, as I said, to the north or southbound side of the 110 freeway. The next freeway interchange will be the 710. And I am looking at our real-time traffic system, wide open, the 105. And the 105 begins and ends at the 605, not far from here. So there will come a point this driver will either exit the freeway onto surface streets or will have to make a transition. If the driver does not transition to either direction of the 710, then it will be the 605, either north or south on the 605. And you can see the speeds, our extreme nav system picking up really high speeds there. A wide open freeway. We have the night sun. There's an airship up, a law enforcement airship illuminating this. We're getting as much information as we can at our assignment desk. And yes, the officers down below trying to ascertain what they can. Is the vehicle stolen? Looking at the vehicle, it does look like the right rear side has some minor damage. Whether or not that occurred during the pursuit, we don't know at this time.
We're getting some unfortunate information. We are working to confirm this, so this is not confirmed just yet. We hate to hear that, Rick. You just brought up the fact that there was a pursuit yesterday where the woman quickly went into 7-Eleven. She had her baby in the car. The car then was stolen. Fortunately, police made quick work of that. The baby is okay, was unharmed, and was reunited with its mother. But now we're hearing that the want on this pursuit that is underway, West Covina PD aggressively pursuing this suspect wanted for child endangerment. Of course, we are working to get that confirmed.
Game changer. Just like yesterday. Is there a child inside this vehicle? Now the pursuit is in the carpool lanes, those fast track lanes there. Still a wide open freeway at this point. Eastbound side of the 105 through Compton. Again, the next freeways, the 710 and the 605, if that driver does want to make a transition at this point.
Well, we talk about the freeway being wide open. I'm wondering if this suspect is very familiar with these roads, because like you said, as that 105 hits that 605, you got to make a choice there, which direction to go. If this person came from West Covina, they might know that area quite well to know which direction to go comfortably at high speeds.
That's a lot of real estate if the pursuit was initiated in the West Covina area, in the San Gabriel Valley, and ended up almost to LAX on that westbound side of the 105, approaching the 405 freeway near LAX, but then exiting in Inglewood on the north side of the 105. A very short time, the pursuit was on surface streets there, but then the driver decided to get back on the 105 and head back to the east, and that's where we're at right now. You can still see that night sun from the airship up above, watching it, illuminating that pursuit for the ground units that are trailing very closely here. Bottom line, they want to end this safely. If there is a child, and that hasn't been confirmed, as you said, Marla, that hasn't been confirmed, but if there is a child on board, that is a game changer, and they are going to handle this a little bit differently, perhaps. The mental state of the driver, always in play, obviously, with situations like this. Why do they run? Because they feel that they could get away. LAPD stats show that about 18% of pursuit suspects are able to get away. Sometimes the units back off because of the danger to other people, to other drivers, to pedestrians, and they are able to get away in that situation. But right now, they're aggressively pursuing this driver here, a very dangerous pursuit, high speeds, extreme nav, we have it. And remember, lower bottom left corner of your screen, yeah, see that QR code there? Download our app because you can always watch these pursuits if you have to pull away from your tablet for your phone. But keep it here on Fox 11 and we'll continue to watch this for you. Eastbound 105 in Compton.
You mentioned extreme speeds here, Rick, and we just saw, according to our extreme nav technology, the speeds exceed 100 miles per hour. That's even scarier given the information that we are receiving that this could very well be a case of child endangerment. As Skyfox is up and over, we have that night sun on it. This is the 105 eastbound now in the Downey-Norwalk area, Christine.
Approaching the 605 too, guys, now.
You know, if this is a case of child endangerment, they might have a good read as to who is behind the wheel here. They might know exactly who this person is, not having to trace that plate. They might have been in touch with another parent or family member. But obviously a big concern with anything involving children.
And when we say that, again, is there a possibility that there's a child on board this vehicle? Yes, but did that endangerment occur in West Covina, at a residence, at some other location, and then they, meaning the officers, approached the suspect and the pursuit was on with or without that child?
Exactly.
That's the question we still need answered.
And now we are hearing that this suspect could be categorized as a domestic violence suspect. Again, this was picked up by West Covina PD on the cruiser there. At certain angles, you can see West Covina police on the side of those cruisers. And here we are now in the Downey-Norwalk area. When we picked up this pursuit,
here we go,
were
605.
on surface streets, essentially in Inglewood. Now we're on 605. Rick, you just see that transition being made. Yeah,
or as we approach the 605, or they can just exit. As I said, the 105 freeway starts and ends at the 605 freeway. If you want to get off the freeway right there, you dump off the freeway at Studebaker. That would take this pursuit back onto surface streets. Or this driver could make their way, this suspect, and we're hearing more about this suspect, a domestic violence situation possibly, child endangerment. Who's in that vehicle? We don't know. You can see it's clearly tinted out. We have an airship up, not only Skyfox, but down in the dirt, as we would call it up in Skyfox, meaning just 300 or 400 feet above the pursuit, illuminating the pursuit for those ground units there. And as we watch these pictures, Marla and Christine, this is a good time to remind everybody, because these are happening a lot. Over the last several years, we've seen an uptick in the amount of pursuits out there. If you see anything like this coming behind you, obviously if you see or hear lights and siren, you want to pull to the right. It could be an RA, it could be an ambulance, It could be just a unit that's heading to a call. Always yield to that. Always try to stay away. Give officers plenty of space. Never try to be a hero because you do not know what we're dealing. There's the transition. There's the signs to the 605. Let's see what happens now.
Looks like it's going 605 north. We'll keep a watch on this. You know, when you talk about possibly a domestic violence situation, that also is a game changer when it comes to safety of the officers. How many cases have we heard of that have gone terribly wrong when officers responded to a domestic violence call?
And are they armed? And are they armed?
Well, that makes me, Christine just brings up a great point. That makes me think of the El Monte police officers. They were responding to a domestic violence call in El Monte, and covering that story, we learned that this is one of the, if not the most dangerous call that officers can receive, a domestic violence suspect. So, Christine, you bring up a very poignant point there as we look now at the 605 northbound, officially Downey Norwalk. It's hard to see, though, Rick and Christine, just how many cruisers are pursuing this suspect.
They are aggressively, and they're heading north on the 605, meaning that is the general direction back to where this pursuit initiated, up in the West Covina area, because we always mention, do these drivers want to get into an area they're familiar with? I know the South Bay, left and right. If I'm being pursued, am I going to try to take those side streets, those ins and outs that I know of my hometown? Of course I will. That's what these guys do as well. Or perhaps they have a connection. They know somebody, and they're in touch with them. These officers are in touch with any type of intel they can possibly get on this vehicle and on this suspect. They have to assume the worst. We don't know how this situation started, what type of possible domestic abuse occurred or child endangerment. They have to assume that this suspect is armed and very dangerous, and they have to handle that accordingly. And if there is another innocent person, whether it be a child or adult, they have to take that into account as well.
And not only the familiarity of the roads and neighborhoods that we know, but we've seen suspects want to turn themselves in, bring the pursuit to an end at their home, at a parent's home, at a place that they know they have some support there. So how this is going to end, we're going to have to wait and see. I'm wondering how much gas is in that vehicle, if they've got a full tank at the start of this pursuit. Are we exiting here, Rick?
It looks like we're taking an exit here from the northbound side of the 605 here in Santa Fe Springs, or just maneuvering around traffic. We'll see. Perhaps a little cat and mouse with the officers. No, it does look like we are going to exit the freeway here from the northbound side of the 605 in Santa Fe Springs. A very busy Telegraph Road here. You can see this is a major boulevard here in Santa Fe Springs, and we'll see what happens. Slowing down a little bit. Is there an option for that pit maneuver? Is he going to try to bump the left end or the right end of that vehicle? Spin it out. Bring it to an end. There we go. There's the bump right now. Doing a U-turn here, coming back towards the west now on Telegraph Road.
Yeah, that was the first time we've seen that contact made, so good work by West Covina Police Department there, but unfortunately did not bring this, what we are hearing to be a domestic violence suspect pursuit to an end. Back on the freeway they go. So you have to assume, though, that the vehicle sustained some sort of damage from that. Rick, you had pointed out that it looked like there may have already been some back-end damage to this vehicle.
Right here's a good time to try to, that tight, you're absolutely right. That's what I saw. And, and again, we don't know if that occurred during the pursuit prior to. Bottom line, back on the 605, but now in the opposite direction, heading southbound on the 605 freeway out of Santa Fe Springs. So now he's heading away, or she, the suspect, and anybody on board that vehicle away from West Covina, where we understand that this pursuit was initiated.
And you're right, we don't know if it's a he or a she behind the wheel. We don't know if there's another passenger involved or anybody else inside that vehicle. But that pit maneuver you saw there, that was the time to do it, when they had those speeds that were a lot slower there on those surface streets. Unfortunately, A for effort didn't work, though. Driver able to get back onto the freeway there, and this pursuit is still on.
And just past the 5 freeway now, so geographically, we're going to keep you posted, and you can see it with our Extreme Nav system here. The southbound side of the 605, just past the interchange with the 5, now coming up to the 105 again. Will they get back on the 105 here and head the only direction you can head at the 605 and the 105 would be westbound, but it looks like they're staying far to the left, so that likely will not happen. But South 605 will then take him down into Bellflower, or her down into Bellflower, this suspect towards the 91 freeway, towards Los Alamitos, Lakewood, and the east side of Long Beach.
Well, right away, when the suspect went onto surface streets, the strategy of officers changed instantly, and now looks like those officers are gaining a little bit of ground on the vehicle here.
Really close.
But referring to just the difference in strategy when you're on the highway, when you're on the freeway versus when you're on surface streets. Looks like they are transitioning again.
Yep, looks like we're going to see a transition yet again from the southbound side of the 605. Or no, now weaving back towards the main lines of the... No, it looks like what this driver may be doing, this suspect, again, if you're just joining us, we've heard the word domestic violence. We've heard child endangerment. First little bit of traffic we're seeing here as well, with the big rig on the far right lane where those drivers should be. And then the left lane there, you could see people pulling over. That's what you got to do. Another reminder, lights and siren, pursuit, stay out of the way. Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to box a suspect like this in, because we just don't know what we're dealing with. Let the officers do that work. West 105, we're going back that direction now.
Okay, well, I'm wondering if the suspect intended to do that and go in this direction, given that pit maneuver could be jarring for the driver. Perhaps they just saw the freeway and got back on and went anywhere they could go. All right, so we're going 105 westbound yet again. So you have to wonder how this plays out. Does that driver try to get off that freeway and go back eastbound towards West Covina, or continue towards LAX again?
Rick, you wonder if the suspect will be hesitant to go back onto the surface streets, knowing that the strategy does change once they make it to surface streets, because they know, as proven, the officers could try another pit maneuver.
The more aggressive that we're seeing the officers are handling this, Marla and Christine, unlike yesterday's when we did find out that there was a child in a car seat, in the back seat of that vehicle, and thankfully that pursuit ended relatively peacefully and that child was not injured. But the way that they are handling this, it appears that they may not think that there is a child inside that vehicle. Again, we had no confirmation. We just heard that there could be some situation involving a child, and now we're hearing domestic violence, possibly a family situation at a residence, at a different location. We believe that location was in West Covina. We believe that's where that pursuit was initiated, and it's been on ever since. Why are they heading back, this suspect, back west on the 105? Perhaps they know somebody in this area. Perhaps they are going back towards Inglewood, South LA. That's the direction of the 105. Again, the 105 freeway starts and ends at the 605. From there, you have the interchange with the 710 and then the 110 Harbor Freeway through South LA and Athens. Then you head towards the 405 at LAX. And then the 105 just dumps off and heads towards Dockweiler Beach, towards the coast.
Rick, we are seeing that West Covina is requesting CHP for spike strips.
Yeah, I mean, they want to disable this vehicle. They want to bring this pursuit to an end safely and not endanger the public. That's the role of these officers here. But at the same time, they want to protect themselves. They don't want to get injured. We have to assume that this driver, clearly not in a good mental frame of mind. Do they have a weapon? They have to assume that they have a weapon. And that's what they're going to do to handle this, to try to bring it to a peaceful ending here. Westbound 105, watch our extreme nav system. We always have you covered. Another reminder, the QR code that you see in the bottom left corner of your screen at times, you can download our app and watch these pursuits wherever you are. But keep it here on this Tuesday evening here on Fox 11, and we definitely have you covered with that extreme nav system, where this pursuit actually is and the speeds that it's going. And you can see that unit really picking up behind the suspect here. 105 freeway westbound at the 710, and it looks like there could be a transition yet again here. Let's see if that's the case. It's a bit difficult to see in the darkness here, but we do understand that there still is an airship up there illuminating this pursuit. We call it a night sun because it lights up that area, much like the sun would. And there we go. As I said, 710 freeway. Now on a different freeway, northbound side of the 710 coming up from the West 105.
I'm wondering if the suspect was not intending to go westbound again, and perhaps they're going to try to find their way back to going eastbound. We'll see how that plays out here on the 710. Yeah, they have that night sun. It does work really well. Not a lot of traffic there on the freeway, which is good for safety. Police can just kind of let this run its course and let this person run out of gas.
And you brought up the point. We don't know how much gas was in that vehicle. Was it loaded up, full tank? Maybe just, under a quarter of a tank? Because you're burning fuel a lot quicker when you're going at speeds like this that we've seen. North 710 out of Compton, up towards Cudahy. The next major freeway interchange would be the 5, a few miles up to the north.
When we're hearing that West Covina PD is requesting backup, essentially, from CHP to enlist them, recruit them to help bring this to an end by the use of spike strips, then, Rick, you have to wonder how long it's going to take for CHP to get into a place to be able to strategize ahead, especially when they're transitioning from this freeway to the next, and where to put those spike strips.
And it's not easy when you're on a busy freeway in Southern California for those officers to throw those strips out. So as long as they're staying on these light volume freeways, the pursuit, that's going to be a difficult task for these officers. Not saying it's impossible. We have seen situations like that, but you're going to have to throw that spike strip across several lanes and assume that that driver is going to go over that as opposed to, meandering around. I am looking at our real-time traffic system and congestion. I've been watching that, and now that this pursuit is on the northbound side of the 710, just crossing over Firestone Boulevard, coming through Southgate, up ahead, right at the 5 interchange, there's some slowing. There's a bit of a heavy volume there. How much slowing, how much volume, will it impact the speeds? Possibility. So that's something we'll have to take into consideration here. Or this pursuit may transition to either the north or southbound side of the 5 freeway. Northbound side of the 5 would take the pursuit up towards East Los Angeles, the East LA interchange, the 5, the 60, the 10 freeways on the east side of downtown LA. Southbound 5 would take the pursuit back down towards the 605 freeway, where we already saw a stretch of these high speeds with this suspect. Again, a possible domestic violence suspect, possibly a child involved. Unclear if there's anybody else in the vehicle besides the suspect. We don't have a lot of information on the suspect, not even the gender of that suspect.
Rick, do you think the spike strips might be deployed on the surface streets? Because this is a pretty high rate of speed. And I don't recall seeing a lot of spike strips deployed on the freeway like that.
Well, yesterday's pursuit ended pretty much because of those spike strips that those officers threw out there. No, not on the freeway. It was on surface street. So on the freeway, as I said, very, very unlikely that it's going to be possible because of the situation with motorists traveling at 65 miles an hour. For an officer to get out in the darkness, try to throw a spike strip across even a couple lanes of traffic and keep that officer safe, it's very unlikely. And again, the speed is too fast right now, and there's too many other people driving at this hour, even though the volume is light, even though it's late, to try a pit maneuver. Again, that threshold speed, 35 miles an hour or less for that pit maneuver to be conducted. And again, the pit maneuver, it's an acronym for Pursuit Intervention Technique. Bumping either the right or left side of that vehicle, spinning that vehicle out so that vehicle then faces officers, which is dangerous in itself, because if you have somebody who is not in a good mental frame of mind, who's already possibly dealt with a situation of domestic violence, who could have a gun, the officers are revved up, that's a very dangerous situation in itself. And all those things are taken into consideration. But our officers, whether it be the West Covina Police Department, whether it be the California Highway Patrol, or any other agencies, and they will call in other agencies as well if they do need help. If it does enter the Los Angeles city limits, LAPD is going to be involved. It'll be a mutual aid situation. So we'll watch that as this pursuit continues. Again, northbound side of the 710, they're making great progress in terms of just covering a lot of real estate at Atlantic Bandini here, now approaching the 5 freeway.
Looking at the time at 10:41, we can tell you that West Covina PD picked this up almost an hour ago at 9:52 to be precise. So almost an hour into this pursuit that we've seen it go from West Covina to Inglewood, now to through Norwalk and Downey, now to Southgate, East Los Angeles. And on this wider shot, we're seeing really the scope of this pursuit. The lead agency, West Covina PD, at least 6 cruisers, I would say.
Yep, and I just counted that. You're right, Marla.
Yep, 6 cruisers. We got the Night Sun on this 4-door SUV vehicle. Being told that this is a domestic violence suspect. We've heard child endangerment as well, but that has not been confirmed. And we're seeing speeds now upwards of 80 miles per hour. At one point, it was above 100 miles per hour. West Covina PD attempted a pit maneuver on surface streets at one point. While they did make contact, it was not enough to bring this pursuit suspect to an end, to bring this, in fact, to an end. And now enlisting the help of CHP for spike strips. But Christine makes a great point. When speeds this fast on a highway, they're not going to do those spike strips, especially with other drivers around. I've seen that in cases where it's a slow speed pursuit, Rick.
Yeah, and there's that backup there that I talked about, because I saw those red lights, and that's a transition from the northbound side of the 5 freeway to the 710. But it looks like this driver is choosing to avoid that area now and just continue northbound in the far right lanes and avoid that backup so that they can still rip down the 710 freeway there. So 710 at the 5 freeway, still going at a high rate of speed, but there's still volume out there. You know, LA is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week city. People go to work, they go to the night shift, they're out and about having a good time, whatever that might be. But there are still people that are being endangered by this, and that's another element that these officers have to keep in mind. Looks like possibly an exit here on the northbound side of the 710.
Well, the next freeway the suspect would hit would be the 60 freeway. We'll see if this person actually gets off onto surface streets. Here we go, Rick. What do you think here?
Yeah, it looks like they're veering more to the right, and there is an off-ramp there. So perhaps that's going to be the case here, and that's going to be yet another game changer. You could see the speed at that driver being pursued in relation to those other drivers out there. That's such a dangerous situation. And with every second, every minute this pursuit continues, the likelihood of some innocent person getting hurt increases. You could still see that illumination there, still see that nights in there to illuminate this pursuit, to help those officers. Again, we counted 6 cruisers down below, but they have mutual aid in play as well, so that they could use other officers from other jurisdictions, especially if this pursuit makes its way onto surface streets again. But it looks like they're going to be transitioning here from the northbound side of the 710 to the 60 freeway. There it is, 60 freeway eastbound now from the 710.
Another transition, getting word from our assignment desk that they have been able to make contact with West Covina Police Department to confirm that this suspect is a domestic violence suspect. We're told that there is definitely no children inside that vehicle. Thank goodness.
That's good. That's good news.
To your point, Rick, when we saw those speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour and the aggressive behavior of West Covina PD, it now makes sense that they're getting confirmation that there is no child inside this suspect's vehicle. Again, we are confirming that this is a domestic violence suspect with speeds now upwards of 65 to 70 miles per hour. This is the eastbound 60 passing Atlantic Boulevard in the Southgate, East Los Angeles area.
And this will take it now on the eastbound side of the 60. If you watch with our Extreme Nav system, the speed, the location, our technology is pinpoint through the far south end of the San Gabriel Valley into Montebello. The 60 freeway eastbound, that would connect this pursuit again, and this driver back to the 605, which could possibly bring the pursuit back to where we think it was initiated, up into the West Covina area in the San Gabriel Valley. High speeds, fortunately, from what we've seen, nothing in terms of any accidents, any pedestrians getting involved in this or any other drivers. But as I just said, Marla and Christine, for every second, for every minute this pursuit continues, the chances of that happening increases, obviously.
Well, my concern is with a domestic violence situation is that police may know exactly who they're dealing with. They might have good intel on the suspect and what's going on here with the family. My concern, though, is this person, do they have a record? Do they have a history? Obviously, it's a painful situation for people involved in domestic violence situations. So the concern is, how far is this person going to go to get away from police?
And officers likely have already been in touch with those family members. And maybe there's other family members. Maybe there's a mother, a father, an aunt, an uncle, a sister, a brother that knows what's happening here and trying to communicate with that suspect, with that driver, assuming that that suspect has a charged up cell phone, which most people do these days. But again, as much intel as possible, knowing, thankfully, there's not a child. Once I saw the aggressive behavior, which was great to see the officers charge at this vehicle and try that pit maneuver, that made me think that, you know what, likely not a child inside that car, because they probably would not have done that for the child's safety. But ripping down the 60 freeway, eastbound side of the 60, now approaching the 605 in the far south end of the San Gabriel Valley. Night sun is on. Airship is up, Skyfox is up covering this, and with that wide open freeway, with that light volume, look at the speeds go.
Yeah, 85 miles per hour according to our extreme nav technology. So eastbound 60 here, Montebello, southwest San Gabriel Valley now. Clocked plenty of miles since we've been on the air. We picked this up just about 10:15 or so, so been on the air with it for more than 30 minutes. And we have witnessed a pit maneuver on surface streets. I think that was more in the Norwalk Downey area or Inglewood area when we picked that up. That was by West Covina PD. We are hearing that West Covina PD is calling on CHP for help in this pursuit. At least 6 cruisers involved. They have the helicopter overhead, of course, making good use of the night sun to keep a close watch on this domestic violence suspect out of the West Covina area.
That's right, and we're going to watch now here if that transition is going to be made from the 60 freeway onto the 605. Eastbound side of the 660 IC is wide open, and you can take that freeway all the way out towards the Inland Empire at this time. So wide open there. Officers all over the area, this region, have been alerted about this pursuit. It will be a mutual aid situation if needed. If the pursuit exits onto surface streets, obviously, whatever community that's in, those officers will come upon this pursuit and try to help out. And hopefully, if it is on a surface street, that the speeds are reduced significantly down to 35 miles or less. Again, that's the threshold that they can conduct the pit maneuver, the pursuit intervention technique, to spin that vehicle out, to bring it to an end. Or on a narrow street where it's safe for the officers to throw those nails out, throw that spike strip out, to disable the vehicle, to disable all those tires, like we saw yesterday, to bring this to a safe conclusion.
So the 60 freeway would drop this car well below West Covina. We talked about suspects often going to an area that is familiar, perhaps their home, a relative's home. If you started in West Covina, the 60 would bring that suspect down through City of Industry. So, Rick, is the next freeway 605?
It's the 605, but the North 605 would take it up to the 10, and then they're going to be very close to West Covina.
Exactly.
So this is South El Monte, 60 freeway eastbound, approaching the 605 freeway. The options there would be to go either north or south on the 605. We already saw a stretch of this pursuit on the 605, well south of this location here, but there's definitely lots of options. And again, this driver will continue thinking in their mind that they have that chance to get away. Why do they run? They're still not in custody, and they try to do whatever they can to evade that custody.
Do they think they're going to get away, or are they dragging out every last minute because they know they're going to be going to jail tonight?
For every
when
minute
this comes to an end, they're going to jail.
Yep. For every minute that they're still on the run in their vehicle and not in handcuffs. Yeah, that's a good thing for the mindset of these suspects. And again, the mindset typically is far from being stable. They're unstable individuals running from police, a number of police who are armed and will make sure that this person gets into custody. Here we go, 60 freeway. It looks like a transition could be made here. We'll see which direction. Again, we believe this pursuit was initiated in the West Covina area. You see it on the bottom there, domestic violence suspect. What happened? Was someone injured? We don't know. We heard initially, early on, that there could have been a child involved in this. Has that been confirmed? No. What has been confirmed is they do not believe a child is inside that vehicle. Is there somebody else, another adult? There's a possibility. Again, the windows are tinted. We haven't been able to see anything. Night sun is up. Here we go, 60 freeway eastbound, making some sort of transition or exit, and we'll see what happens now.
My guess is 605 northbound to the
north.
10 eastbound towards West Covina.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Back to the neighborhood where this pursuit started. Maybe this suspect, in their minds, they're going to give up close to home. Maybe they feel that they can duck into an area, a friend, a backyard, something where they can evade police. If there's a foot bail, when we say that the vehicle, the suspect pulls over, jumps out of the vehicle with the darkness and runs as fast as they can to evade police. But you can see those units trailing tightly there. We're now on the northbound side of the 605 freeway, the 10 just a couple miles up to the north, and we'll see where this goes from there.
All right, it's going to be telling to see if, in fact, this domestic violence suspect takes a local exit here to both of your points to surrender closer to home. That could be a possibility. We will see. This is 605 northbound speeds within reason. We've seen them exceeding 100 miles per hour. It's nice that it's more stable, if you can call it that right now. This has been now officially going on for 1 hour when West Covina PD first called this pursuit of a domestic violence suspect taken through various cities, Inglewood, Downey, Norwalk, and now we are here in the East San Gabriel Valley. And what's most frightening is to think about the fact that, you know, they have to assume, Rick, that the suspect is armed and...
Yeah, let me just say one more thing there too, Marla, to your point about comfort zone with this driver. They might be more comfortable with areas east of West Covina versus west, like LAX area or Inglewood. So they may or may not get off near West Covina, but perhaps their comfort zone is more towards the east. When you live out that way, sometimes you travel other areas, upland, things like that.
Yeah, we just don't know that at this time, right? And again, it's a guessing game for us, the mindset of these drivers. And the same for the officers. It's a guessing game for them. What are they going to do? Clearly they're running. This has been a long pursuit now. We have to start thinking about how much gas was in that vehicle when this pursuit was initiated. A domestic violence suspect, and that could be anything. That could be your hand is a weapon. A vehicle is a weapon. If this suspect tries to ram a unit, a police car, that's a deadly weapon in itself. Or was it something more serious? Was there a knife involved? Was there a gun involved? And if so, is that weapon in the possession of this suspect right now? Here we go, 10 freeway. Where are we going to go? You guys, we've called it, right? 10 freeway heading eastbound on the 10, it looks like, from the north 605, and that will take this pursuit right smack back into West Covina.
So the question is then, does that driver get off in the West Covina area or continue the pursuit towards the east? You know, too, with domestic violence cases, the concern is not just the driver, it's also the family members involved in something like that. Sometimes when police show up, the people who've been abused or made claims or even called can turn on the officers. So it's really a dangerous situation for everybody involved in a situation like this.
And I'm looking at our real-time traffic system, and the westbound side of the 10 through this area has been going under a tremendous amount of construction lately, widening the lanes there. And I'm seeing speeds at or below 10 miles an hour. On the opposite side, the westbound side, eastbound still looks wide open. The eastbound side of the 10, this would take the pursuit out towards the Inland Empire, away from the San Gabriel Valley, out of West Covina, if this suspect chooses not to exit the freeway, because as much as we're seeing this continue on to the east, it will make its way out of West Covina towards that direction, towards Pomona, towards Ontario and the Inland Empire.
All right, so current location is 10 eastbound, currently passing La Puente. This is all according to our extreme nav technology. Speeds picking up a little bit here, 70 miles per hour. Again, we've seen them exceed 100 miles per hour at various points throughout. We've seen one attempted pit maneuver, but beyond that, that's all that officers have been able to attempt at this point, just due to speeds on the freeways, and it's only been on surface streets not even a handful of times. And I think that the suspect, the domestic violence suspect, may have, you know, kept that in the back of his or her mind, knowing that, hey, if I go on those surface streets, they could easily try another pit maneuver, and that could bring this to an end. CHP was also said to be contacted to help bring this to an end. We haven't seen CHP officers out there. I'm sure they're strategizing on how they can help. The spike strips have been mentioned as well, but with speeds as quickly, as fast as they're going right now, that is not an option, Rick.
And the driver staying to the right lane there, meaning what? Meaning that those are exit potentials. If that driver is thinking, hey, I'm going to hop off the 10 freeway here. We just passed the famous In-N-Out University there off the 10. If you've seen that just to the east of the 605 interchange there. But now continuing still on the eastbound side of the 10, heading away from downtown LA, through the San Gabriel Valley, heading outbound towards the Inland Empire. And there's a lot of options for this suspect to take. Lots of exits on the 10 freeway, heading eastbound. The next freeway of choice would be the 57.
Well, let's just say this. We've had this driver on a lot of freeways, where the 60, the 710, the 605, the 5, the 105. Eventually, this car is going to run out of gas. Eventually.
No question. And we've been covering this roughly 40-plus minutes now, and we do have to start to think about that. How much gas was in the vehicle when this pursuit started here? And officers don't know that. They don't know a lot. All they know is that they're dealing with somebody who possibly, allegedly hurt somebody, a domestic violence suspect. We don't know the incident, how it occurred. We don't know if anybody else is in that vehicle. We don't know if that suspect is armed with a knife or a gun, or if that domestic violence was conducted with their hands, because that is a weapon in itself. Bottom line, still staying on the 10 freeway, going to be heading now out of West Covina towards the Inland Empire, towards the fairgrounds, towards the 57 freeway, towards Cal Poly Pomona. But at this point, we're not seeing an exit. But that driver is kind of staying more to the right there to give he or she an option to exit if they want to. But a wide open freeway. You see the volume now as we approach the 11 o'clock hour here on this Tuesday evening in Southern California.
So, Rick, when there are trailing cruisers, they're all working in coordination. They're all communicating as this pursuit continues, right?
Absolutely. And we just crossed towards Azusa Avenue, which is now a little bit east of West Covina. The communication, yes, you're spot on, Marla, in terms of those officers all speaking to each other, all speaking to dispatch. Dispatch may have some information at a ground base, and those dispatch operators are so paramount to our first responders in relaying information to the boots on the ground, so to speak, towards those units on the ground to convey that information. Perhaps they're finding out more from family members on that end. Somebody calling 911, a brother, a sister saying, hey, this is what's going on. We're trying to communicate with them. We're trying to bring this to a safe end. And perhaps using that person on the other line, if this suspect does indeed have a charged up cell phone, to try to give that person on the other line, that significant other, that brother, that friend, information, almost being a crisis negotiator, to put into the suspect.
Exit,
here we go.
exit,
We're
exit.
Exiting here, 10 freeway eastbound at Citrus Street. Slowing down, a pit maneuver right here is possible. Let's see what happens. It doesn't look like there's a lot of automobiles up ahead right now. Here we go. You can see that little side.
Bring this to a close.
Boom. There's contact there for sure. They're going to try it again.
Yeah.
This is the opportunity. Come on, let's make it happen. Oh yeah. Off.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Boom, into the light pole.
Okay.
Now, this is where it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
The night sun is on. The suspect now, really the only option at this point, as officers, gosh, come on, guys, let's get him.
Oh,
His car is still drivable.
Goodness.
Wow.
You know, you wondered, could officers...
Here we go again. They're going to do it again. They're done. They're done. They're going to get this guy. Come on. Let's pit him. Let's pit him right now. There is not a lot of other vehicular traffic is null right now. Don't get it back on the freeway. Let's do it. Pit this guy right now. Right side of the vehicle, trying there, unable to do it there. Units are behind them. This is here we go.
The concern now is
this a cat and mouse?
Wow.
Or is now the vehicle disabled?
But we don't know. We don't know if this. Yeah, we don't know if this driver, this suspect, is armed at this point. They're going to do whatever they can to box this guy in. Okay. Obviously.
But that one car, though, getting out of the, getting safe in a safe zone in case officers have to open fire.
No question.
Yep. Right.
That's the tactics they train. The adrenaline is rushing through these officers. They just conducted a pursuit for miles, covering a tremendous amount of real estate in Southern California, possibly being initiated in West Covina. That's what we think. All the way down towards the 105, westbound side of the 105, almost to LAX, exiting in the Inglewood area, on Hawthorne Boulevard, back towards the east on the 105, back up the 605, and then getting off the 605 freeway, heading back to the south, back onto the 105, then getting on the 5 freeway. There was a handful of freeways. This is where it gets very dangerous, and this is where it could last for some time.
Well, here's the thing.
The standoff.
Yeah, that car came to a slow quite suddenly with those officers right there on the tail of that driver. So you saw that one police car get out of the line of fire, get to a safe spot there. But those officers, they're real close on that driver, should that driver have a weapon.
And they're...
Rick,
yeah.
I'm curious about what we're not seeing in front of the vehicle. Do they have this suspect then blocked in? Can we assume that there are CHP or police officers, I should say, in front of the vehicle as well, so that we don't see a case where the...
Well, you don't want to be in the line of fire.
Now window back up. Now window back up. They're definitely closing off that street. Yes, to answer your question, Marla, there's officers.
Oh, no.
Wow,
this is
here
what I
we
was
go
referring
again.
to. Would they be able to do the count and mouse, which we've seen them do multiple times in covering these pursuits?
I'm surprised that this is happening at this point, because if this suspect, and that car has been damaged, there's no question. It hit a pole, it got pitted a couple of times, back end damage, but it's still drivable. Yeah. You can see it. You can see the damage to the front left side. There's the other officers that were right there, as we said. And now this is on surface streets here. But they are heading away from the 10 freeway at this time.
Here we go.
We're going to try it again. Pit him again, block him in. If it is, we don't even know, again, the gender. We saw very quickly the window roll down on the driver's side here. A narrow stretch here of Workman Street, which is to the north of the 10 freeway here. That officer is closing in and going to try to nudge the back end and conduct that pit maneuver, that pursuit intervention technique, spinning this driver out here and finally bringing this to an end. You could see, though, not a lot of vehicular traffic. Thankfully, there's one vehicle there. But if they look up ahead and they're not seeing much, then they're going to try. They're going to take that effort again and try to bring this to an end without harming any individuals that are just innocent bystanders.
We are just hearing that the domestic violence incident that the suspect is wanted for occurred at some point today. We don't know when. But again, this pursuit was effective as of 9:52, so shortly before 10 o'clock this evening. And here we are beyond the 11 o'clock hour.
Here we go. Here comes another pit, possibly. Back right side.
Come on, come on.
And what that means, what that important information you just relayed, Marla, is that we don't know what time it occurred. It could have happened at noon. They knew what happened. They were trailing this individual and then lit him up, found that individual, and the pursuit was on. But now we're just watching. This is still on Workman Avenue. Here we go. This is where the pit maneuver is going to happen again. Nudging. Very close call that officer did with those parked cars.
The speed's here, though, Rick.
Yeah, and now we have red lights, and we have, you could see the cars bouncing there, both the unit, the police unit and the suspect there, meaning that they hit a dip and they're going 50, 55, 60 miles an hour, ripping down Workman Avenue here,
Looks
north
like
of the 10.
lost a front right tire.
Okay. Yeah, you can see the sparks. Yeah,
blue.
and that's the side that the vehicle made contact with that pole. So likely it was damaged there. You can see the back end damage. The pit maneuvers that were conducted. Yeah, that rim sparking up the road there on Workman Avenue. But at this point, the officers have to be very careful. They have to look ahead. People are out walking their dogs at this time. They're out and about. There's other vehicles. If they spin this car into somebody else and hurt them, they don't want that. But this front right tire clearly is compromised big time. It has been disabled, and that's going to have an impact on the speed if this vehicle can still make its way up Workman Avenue.
How long can this car drive like that in that condition? But then you got to wonder about the nature of the suspect, the mood of that person who was willing to face officers, roll down the window, look at them after being hit by a pit maneuver a couple times, and to continue on. The state of mind here is concerning.
And the speeds are down a bit, and that's going to help. And we'll see again if the officers are going to take this chance to try to spin this vehicle out, box them in, and finally bring this to an end without hurting anybody else, because you could still see a lot of it. Here we go. Another pit. Oh, just missed him there. Sparks flying from that right tire, big time. That front right tire there being disabled, likely when it made impact with that pole. They're trying to do the pit maneuver on the back left side there again, just nudging that vehicle enough to spin them out. But you're going to see there's a chance that car could get spun out to all those parked vehicles on Workman Avenue. There's a lot of parked cars there.
Well, and keeping a watch on the speed for everyone at home. 35 miles per hour is typically the threshold for a pit maneuver.
Oh,
so we've exceeded that, but now it's coming to an end because of that.
Now they're going to
riding on rims.
He's bumping him. This unit is bumping up. There's a lot of parked cars there. Spinning out, losing control, boom, hits another parked vehicle right there.
Yep, boxed in for sure.
Now, this is dangerous. This suspect has led these officers on a very dangerous pursuit. We don't know what the mindset of this suspect, what they are willing to do to get away. And if they do have a weapon, we don't know that at this time. What type of domestic violence occurred? At this time, it does look like that vehicle is not going to be able to go anywhere. That's what we said last time. But they're boxed in. That front right tire is completely dismantled. It's completely disabled. And now we're in a situation, and again, like we said last time, Marla and Christine, this could last for hours. We've seen it happen in the past where a suspect doesn't give up.
We advise neighbors, if you're in this area, you're hearing noises, you're hearing police, you're seeing the sirens, stay indoors. There's always that temptation to want to come out and use your cell phone and roll on some video. Safety first here. Again, we don't know the nature and the mindset of this driver who is willing to lead police into a pursuit that ended like this. Those officers taking cover there for their own safety.
Oh, they got the canine out there too. So and it depends on the agency. Some agencies are like, we're not having any of this. This suspect is going to go down right now, and they'll send that canine unit in. Which, by the way, those are officers. Those dogs are highly trained. They know what to do. We've seen dogs die in the line of duty doing this type of work. But they will send that canine unit in and say, hey, if you're not giving up, we're going to send in this dog right now, and this dog is not going to feel good on you.
Or they do the tear gas through the window to kind of smoke the driver out.
And the car's smoking already because of the damage.
Yeah, safety for that driver, too. If that car catches on fire.
And you got to think that that suspect is exhausted, too, is stressed, is dealing with all kinds of emotional issues, and the officers are revved up. So this is where things really come into play. You can see the one officer running there, and again, you always like to watch the body language of those officers to determine what's going on. Do they know that this suspect now may have a weapon or not? And clearly, they're not giving up. These officers are giving strict instructions on what to do, and that suspect is not following them.
Well, we are getting an exact location where this has come to an end. We are being told this is Broadmoor Avenue and West Workman in West Covina. So where it started is also where it is coming to an end. The pursuit portion is over. It's now just about apprehending, getting the domestic violence suspect into official custody. We haven't seen any movement. You wonder, of course, is the suspect hurt? From the numerous crashes involving West Covina police, the spin-outs that we saw.
What is going on? What is going on right there? There's sparks that are...
He's trying to drive away. He must be trying to
Look at that.
drive
And that's what we're seeing, the smoke there. Trying to get out of there. Wow. That is something else. That looks like the 4th of July again. This is
extremely
and the desperation of a suspect is right. Seeing that and again, anything that they do, those suspects with that vehicle that endangers officers is an act of violence. That is a weapon, that vehicle is. And every single vehicle infraction, we saw the red lights being ran. We saw that this vehicle was moving at very high rates of speed. These officers can make a list of all of those infractions and write he or she up on those infractions. How scary it must be for the residents. Again, if you ever have anything like this, if you live in this area, clearly they're hearing it. Stay inside, doors and windows locked, because this guy is trying to do whatever they can to get away. But that wheel is turning, the smoke is rolling, that vehicle is getting smoked up, and this is a hazard not only to the suspect in that vehicle, but also to the officers.
Well, and to think the innocent vehicle that obviously belongs to somebody on this street, and the people who perhaps were just trying to have a night on this Tuesday night, and this ends outside their front door. This is definitely a hazard, and it's continuing with the pedal to the metal, literally.
You know, I wouldn't have thought this driver might be on drugs, the way they were driving and able to navigate so many freeways for so long, but this behavior is very bizarre. This person's obviously having a very bad day. We talked about that domestic violence situation earlier. That's the root of this whole pursuit here. But what is this driver doing? And then you have to wonder about this car catching on fire.
Well, they got away once. We thought it was, we thought it had ended.
But
and
now?
The car was disabled, and they still feel that they're going to get away. Right now, they're still not in custody. They're still not cuffed. And with that, they still have that mindset where they feel they might be able to get away. Fire has definitely been called out because this is a hazard, not only to the vehicle and to the driver who could be injured, the suspect, but also to the officers. Officers are circling around the area. They're setting up a perimeter. They're making sure if that driver tries to make a run for it, a foot bail, that those officers are going to be in such an area, in such a situation with that line, just like we call a perimeter with a wildfire, to bring that suspect into custody. K-9 unit is there. Fire is going to be called out. They want to keep those officers safe, everybody out there, but they want this driver just to give up. And at some point, I'm hopeful that something just was thrown out the window there. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Something was just thrown out the window. And the window on that driver's side definitely came down, and there was something rather large that was thrown out. What that was, we don't know at this time, but clearly, okay, here we go. We're seeing some more movement there from that suspect. And we still don't have confirmation, Marla and Christine, that that's the only individual in the car. We believe that's the case. But there could be another person in there, somebody innocent, or perhaps an accomplice. We don't know, because we don't know how the pursuit was initiated, when it started. All we know is that alleged domestic violence occurred at some point today, and the pursuit started tonight. And we've been covering this pursuit now going on a full hour. Now it's in this stalemate, so to speak. The vehicular, the high-speed pursuit end of it has ended here in this residential area. And now it's a cat and mouse waiting game for that suspect to give up.
Well, the driver clearly not going anywhere in that vehicle, perhaps trying to cause as much havoc as they can or stay out of jail for any remaining moments that they can. But you do have to wonder what's going on inside that vehicle. Is that driver in communication with anybody? Is there substances that are illegal inside the vehicle? What's happening with that driver that they're just sitting there? Are they just waiting to be arrested and waiting to stretch it out as long as they can?
Exactly. But you got to think the driver, what kind of day, you said, Christine, the driver, the suspect had, and where they're at in terms of needing to use the restroom, wanting a meal, doing something, knowing now, hopefully, that they're not going to get away in that vehicle. They can try to make a run for it, but you can see that one unit is right up against that driver's side door. Units are right behind there. There has to be units, and again, we're not wide enough to see it, but there has to be units just up the street as well. The K-9 unit is there. And they're going to do whatever they can to set up that line, that perimeter around this vehicle, now that it's in a standoff situation, to bring that suspect into custody. Again, as wild as this pursuit was, we didn't see anything significant in terms of any other vehicles being impacted, with the exception of that parked car and that pole down the street. So we're hoping that nobody was injured from this pursuit. We don't know what happened earlier, and we don't know what happened to the individual who was allegedly assaulted.
Or individuals.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And if there was a child involved, because initially we heard a child may have been involved. We don't know any of that. We will get more information on that in the coming hours and have an update tomorrow morning. And this could go on till tomorrow morning. It almost is morning.
True. Now that we're at 11:15. So at what point, Rick, does that K-9 be put to work?
It's all about the lead officer down there who's conducting all of this like an orchestra, finding out all the intel, making sure that there's nobody innocent inside that vehicle, and now trying to do whatever they can to coax that individual out on their own and bring them into custody. If all of that doesn't happen, it depends. It depends on what they know about the suspect. We see a Bearcat come in an hour plus after a standoff situation like this. We see crisis negotiators come in. So every pursuit has seen different scenarios, and that's why this standoff could last for hours, or the suspect may finally just go, you know what, I'm done with this, and walk out and give up, which we see too.
Right. Well, you know, I'm thinking of those Bearcat situations where they come in and block the vehicle from both sides, but the car's already blocked. So we've also seen an officer come and just break the window with their baton and kind of get the driver out that way. We've also seen them shoot the tear gas into the vehicle and kind of smokes the driver out. But you're right, this could be a long night of waiting this out.
In a residential area, and a long night for these residents as well. You can see this very narrow street here. A car that was just parked off to the right has been badly damaged. That was a pit maneuver that was conducted, that was successful, that finally spun the car out with a very damaged front right wheel, a disabled front right wheel. So with all that, the pursuit, the vehicular portion of the pursuit has come to an end, and now we are in a standoff situation here.
All right, for those of you who have been watching with us this evening, let's just do a quick recap here as we look at the time. It's 11:17. You're watching an extended version of the Fox 11 News at 10 o'clock. This was all came to by West Covina PD just before 10 o'clock this evening of a domestic violence suspect. The pursuit was on. We saw, Christine, I know you kept a list of all of the freeways.
Pretty much every freeway in SoCal, it seemed.
Exactly. And then it came to an end, a crashing end in West Covina, where it started. This is Broadmoor Avenue and West Workman Avenue. The crash there, and the suspect is boxed in. We still, nonetheless, saw the suspect trying to get the vehicle to move again with literally the pedal to the metal, and that was a smoky and fiery scene for a bit. And now we are in this standoff mode. We saw the canine out that has not been deployed just yet. Rick, you called it, though, when you said that this could take hours to come to an end.
It really could. And we've seen different scenarios, and those scenarios unfold based upon what they've seen inside that vehicle and with the suspect, all the information they know about the suspect. And every agency is different. We've seen agencies that are very aggressive as soon as the vehicular part of a pursuit ends and that vehicle is spun out by a pit maneuver or the wheels are damaged by a spike strip, that they will go into that car immediately. They'll break the window, as you said.
Look at this.
Yeah, here we go. They're up on the grassy area on the side there. They're just positioning themselves, these officers, to make sure that that suspect is not going anywhere and that they're going to be taken into custody. But how long they're going to stay there? Guns are drawn here. Clearly watch the body language of the officers to see how they're handling it. But that's a heavy-duty weapon right there at that bit. Also possibly a beanbag or tear gas or something else just to make entry. You could see they are illuminating the inside of that car, seeing if there is anybody else in the vehicle. They're trying to do that all clear code 4 and looking to see if there are any innocent people inside that vehicle. Once they know that, once they know the car is clear, with the exception of that alleged domestic violence suspect, then they may make a more aggressive move. They may break the windows. They may send a canine unit in there.
Well, that vehicle right there that just pulled up there, that police vehicle, kind of sends a message on the passenger side of the car in case that driver's thinking like, hey, maybe I'll make a run for it from the passenger side. And it allows police to position themselves and take cover, though, for their own safety. Because the driver could try to exit the passenger side, could try to make a run for it. You know, obviously wouldn't probably get very far. But who knows the state of mind of this driver. This driver is boxed in.
And doesn't want to give up still, regardless. Clearly they know that they're surrounded. Officers have surrounded them. That front right wheel, you can see how, down to the rim. Down to the rim, a badly damaged vehicle now, front end and back end, from the pit maneuvers, from the impact that vehicle made with a pole after another pit maneuver. This suspect really has nowhere to go. And now time is on the officer's side. And if they are worried, the officers, that there is something going on inside that vehicle, is there somebody else inside that vehicle? Do they have confirmation that there is a serious weapon in the possession of this suspect? That's all going into the tactics. But the time is on the officer's side now, Marla and Christine, and they can wait this out for hours. They can bring in the Bearcat. They can bring in the drone. Drones are used constantly now in law enforcement. Literally bringing that drone right up into the windshield area and making sure that video, that pinpoint video, making sure that there's nothing else inside that vehicle with the exception of the suspect. Bring in a crisis negotiator. All of those are options. Clearing the neighborhood, making sure that nobody is in harm's way. See more smoke again. Let's see what that's all about. That's not coming from that right front wheel. But something went on there. Wow, this just continues. This is really something else.
I'm wondering how much officers can see inside that vehicle. What kind of visual they have with it being so dark out?
They're trying to illuminate it the best they can, but you can clearly see the windows, as we saw during the pursuit on the freeways and the surface streets of Southern California, covering so much real estate that the windows are tinted. But what they're trying to do now is do that inspection of the car. There could be somebody in the back seat hiding. Again, we had initial reports that there could be a child in the vehicle, much like the pursuit from yesterday. But then we heard from our assignment desk and from officers and from dispatch that that wasn't the case. So now, again, all they're trying to do is make sure that they know what they're dealing with, who is in the vehicle, just the suspect, anyone else, does that individual have a weapon, and they will do this on the ground with drone technology. An airship is still up as well. They're trying to put a safeguard around this neighborhood just in case if there is a situation where that suspect has a weapon, and make sure everybody is safe. So all that is being conducted right now.
All right, we continue to watch this as the suspect remains holed up in this crashed, at one point smoking vehicle. It is an SUV of some sort, a domestic violence suspect. We're told from West Covina PD that the domestic violence incident happened at some point today. You heard Rick mention child endangerment may be a part of this case. We have been able to confirm, thank goodness, that there are no children in this vehicle. But Rick brings up a good point that there could be other people beyond the domestic violence suspect in the vehicle. We have not seen that yet. We've really only at one point did we get a good look, relatively good look anyway, at the suspect. That was about 25 minutes ago when we thought it had come to an end on one of the surface streets nearby, when it was sort of a cat and mouse between officers and the suspect. The suspect actively rolled down his or her window, looking back at officers, and then that's when the pursuit was on again, only to come to this crashing end. Not far from that point, this is Broadmoor Avenue and West Workman Avenue in West Covina, which, by the way, is where this pursuit initiated.
And it does look like the officers may have shot something into the vehicle or onto the side of the vehicle, onto the windows, whether that they were beanbags or some sort of device to try to break the windows, that's unclear. Body language of the officers, it's still very intense. Guns are still drawn around this vehicle. So they are clearly handling this in such a way, just even from what we saw during the vehicular part of the pursuit, that this individual is still very dangerous, and they have to do whatever they can to safeguard themselves, to safeguard the officers, and bring this suspect into custody and deal with anything else that's inside that vehicle, if there is at this time. Once again, if you're just seeing these pictures, this started as a pursuit of an alleged domestic violence suspect. We did understand, and Marla conveyed this to us from our assignment desk, that this domestic issue occurred at some point today. Whether it occurred just prior to the start of the pursuit or several hours later, we don't know at this time. But a pursuit was on. This suspect was lit up, did not pull over.
Yeah, we have a reporter now on the scene.
Oh, great, yeah.
Up to date here. Gina Silva is there in West Covina. Gina, what are you seeing there?
Well, Christine, I want to show you around because this is a wild neighborhood right now. You can see all of the residents have come out of their homes and they're out here with their cell phones just watching the activity. You can hear the helicopter just going by in this neighborhood. And of course, everybody has come out with their cell phones and to watch all of this. Sir, what is your name?
My name is Mario.
Mario, describe what you've seen so far.
Well, I was delivering food tonight, and I was over by the citrus off-ramp in Covina when I noticed helicopters hovering above, and then
you can see, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you can see right over here, SWAT is just driving down this street here on Broadmoor. They're headed in the direction where that vehicle is located. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mario, but you were saying you did see the pursuit and you decided to follow.
That is correct. So at one point, the pursuit stopped just north of Citrus, the off-ramp Citrus. The Covina PD had surrounded the subject, and at one point the subject got back into his vehicle and started sped away, basically heading westbound on what this would be Roland.
Now,
and this is where they ended up.
Where they ended up. You're not from this neighborhood, so you came all the way out here. Why was that?
Well, like I said, I'm delivering food, and I'm very familiar with the neighborhood. I'm very involved with the Covina Police Department, and I can tell you that they're being extra cautious tonight. They don't want to make the Channel 11 news. And so that's actually good for our community, and that's good for the department. So just out of curiosity, came out here to see.
And right now they are giving commands. We heard it from where we are located. Again, just take a look here at the scene. So many people here with their cell phones. Hi there. So tell me why you decided to come out.
I just saw it was in my neighborhood, so we wanted to go check out what's going on. So,
are you concerned?
Yes.
You're seeing SWAT drive down the street?
Yeah, it's pretty concerning, pretty scary, yeah.
You know, there was a gentleman here. I understand you got some really good footage earlier. Describe what you noticed.
I mean, I've gone to many of these situations before. I used to do a lot of ride-alongs, so I know kind of what this goes about. I mean, yeah, I seen on the highlights he was a possible rape suspect and domestic violence. So I seen it since earlier on the freeway. I got a little bit of footage of him driving by on the freeway, and I noticed I was keeping up with it on the app. I noticed he got off the freeway and he got into his community here in West Covina, and I guess he ran into a car crash, and I was able to get footage of him burning out in place until all rubber went out of his wheels, and sparks started coming out. Then he put down his window and he threw out a crowbar, and that's about it that I got.
You came out here?
And I came out here, and so I got escorted out here by officers.
Well, I did see some of that footage. It's pretty amazing. You need to contact our assignment as we'll connect you with them, because you can see that they were actually shooting at the vehicle at the time, pellets. But the information that he provided, of course, has to be confirmed. What we do know is that this is a domestic violence suspect, and this is where it ended after such a long pursuit. Sir, I see you're here with your cute doggy. You live right near where this is ending.
Right. Yeah, I just live on the other side. It's hard for me to get back home.
What do you make of all of this?
It's really never happens around here in West Covina, but all this commotion going on, you know, all these neighbors coming out. People could have got hurt from this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you see all of the lights right over here from the police cars, the SWAT team that just arrived. And of course, you've got a much better view of the vehicle and what's going on, Christine and Marla. Better than where I am. I am here with residents from this neighborhood who are, you know, just here to see how it's all going to end. Obviously, for them, it's a lot of excitement, but a lot of things could go wrong here. So safety is number one.
Well, I think you make a good point, Gina. This doesn't happen every day in West Covina. It is coming up on 11:30 at night. So a lot of people out there. And the guy with the dog couldn't get back home, so I was wondering if he was already out and about. But we learned some stuff there from the people who are watching all of this, that one person said a crowbar was thrown. We don't know the nature of the domestic violence accusation. That's the only word we got, was that domestic violence incident earlier today. But Gina, that is quite a crowd there for bedtime on Tuesday night.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, if you live in the neighborhood, you're hearing the chopper above. There's no way you're going to be sleeping. So what do? You come out and check out what is going on in my neighborhood. And that's what everyone here is doing. Hello, sir. You don't want to be on camera. Some people are shy. They don't want to be on camera. But you can see a lot of these young women, they came out with their cell phones. They're standing behind the yellow tape, just watching everything unfold. As the gentleman said, not a lot of this activity happens here. Hello.
Hi.
Do you live nearby?
Yeah, down the street on Broadmoor.
All right, so describe what you've seen and...
We're home watching TV and we heard the commotion, the sirens, helicopters, and come out to this, so it's really surprising.
What do you make of all of this?
You know, it's nowadays, I'm not surprised, all this craziness that's going on.
Now, usually suspects, they end up coming back where it all started. Do you all know if he's from this neighborhood? Anybody? No?
Just seen on TV and started following and see where it goes.
Well, we don't know when it's going to end. It could be a very long night for you. Is this exciting for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're far enough away where obviously no one here is really in danger, but we saw the SWAT team go up this road, and all of the officers are near that vehicle handling the situation. Will hopefully come to an end very soon. But obviously in this neighborhood, something like this doesn't happen every night or rarely, if at all. So that's brought everyone out.
Yeah, and the noise in that neighborhood as well. And Gina, you just mentioned the SWAT vehicle. We do have eyes on that thanks to Skyfox being positioned where it is. We see that SWAT vehicle there on the sidewalk, on the grassy area there. So this has become, this pursuit, hours-long pursuit, has now turned into this long standoff involving this domestic violence suspect. We learned from Gina's reporting that from the ground that witnesses there could see the non-lethal rounds being fired at the vehicle that didn't do anything at this point to get the suspect to come out. Christine, I think you just saw the motion there from the SWAT vehicle with the driver of the SWAT opening the door, coming out. What's next in terms of getting this suspect to come out? They know. We're just watching it unfold.
It certainly is very intimidating to have a big SWAT vehicle like that for that suspect. It certainly sends a message that they mean business, and they're going to bring this to an end at some point, somehow. We do have a video of how this came to an end as we watch this pursuit here on surface streets with that tire there off and sparking there and going down this neighborhood here after a couple of different pit attempts. There you saw right there, police trying to bring this to a close. Bam, right there up against that car. Some resident there is probably thinking, that's my car. I hope there's not too much damage. So here we are after that move right there, sitting here waiting for the driver of this pursuit to come out of that vehicle. With that SWAT vehicle now in place, they're sending quite a message that they're going to make a move somehow to bring this to an end.
One of the most wild moments, Christine, once this has come to a crashing halt, maybe you'll agree, is when we saw the suspect try to get away despite being boxed in. And when I say tried to get away, literally flooring it, pedal to the metal. And then that's when the smoking started and sparks started to fly again, just because that vehicle was going nowhere fast. That activity has since stopped. Rick, you're still with us, of course. What do you make of this?
Yeah, and we're going to wrap this up, Rick, so give us a final thought.
Once again, I mentioned this a bit ago, saying that this could last for hours into the morning hours. SWAT could be called in, a crisis negotiator. They've analyzed that vehicle the best they can to determine what they're dealing with, and they're going to handle this according to that. And it looks like this is going to be a long night into the morning hours.
Well, this pursuit has been on so many different freeways, the 10, the 60, the 710, the 605, and now we are back in West Covina where it started. Because this could be a very long night, we're supposed to end our newscast at 11 p.m. We're going to go ahead and sign off and let Good Day LA bring you up to speed at 4 a.m.
Thank you so much for being with us. Please stay safe out there and join Good Day LA, as Christine said, starting at 4 a.m. They'll have an update for you, complete update. More information on foxla.com. Thanks for being with us.